Hello, trauma is a word that we hear in many situations, but what actually is a trauma? Where is it coming from and how is it linked to the way I feel or I'm reacting today? It can be felt when we see ourselves repeating patterns of fear, shame, or reacting automatically with disproportionate anxiety or stress in a way that doesn't seem to make sense. And let me tell you, you are not alone in this. That was as well my case. And in this video, we will check what trauma is and how it links to the experiences and feelings we are having today. My name is Carlos, and I am doing this video because for a long time I felt I was constantly hitting a wall. My anxiety levels were out of control. I didn't fully understand what was going on, and the only thing I knew is that I couldn't control how I was reacting or feeling. I thought I was self-sabotaging myself, but actually I had quite a few things to process and to heal. And understanding these processes helped me to start understanding what's going on with me and start turning my life around. Then I completed a postgraduate on psychotrauma to help others as well on their own journey. And I want to remark that the information here is for education, and if you are struggling with trauma at the moment, I encourage you to seek professional help. Then at the end of the video, you'll check some tips or things that you can do in your own. But now, let's get to know more about what trauma is. Trauma is like an emotional and psychological wound. It's what happens inside of us when we go through something really overwhelming or painful. It's not just about the event itself, but how our mind and body react to it. Trauma happens when we face something so intense that we don't know how to deal with it, and our system gets overwhelmed trying to protect us. It can come from a big and shocking experience, such as an accident, and if it's a specific unique event, that's called acute trauma. And some other times it can build up over ongoing situations, ongoing stress or difficult and recurrent challenges. And then it's called chronic trauma. And when these chronic stress or disturbing situations happen during our childhood, then it can lead to the development of complex trauma or CPTSD, which is the acronym standing for Complex Post-Traumatic Stress Disorder. When our system gets overwhelmed and can't handle the stress, our body steps in to protect us. It finds a way to shield us from the pain, like making us feel numb, disconnected, or even pushing the memory aside so far away that we don't remember it at all. And this isn't something that we do on purpose. It's an automatic self-defense mechanism. It's our body's way of saying that this is too much, I cannot handle it. And then the body disconnects from the situation so it doesn't have to experience that distress over again in an attempt to protect it. Trauma isn't only about what happened to you, it's about how it affected you in the inside, the emotional and psychological reaction to an event. The word trauma itself actually comes from Greek language, and it means literally wound. And that's exactly what it is. It's a psychological and emotional wound. A lot of people think that trauma only comes from huge life-threatening events or catastrophes, but that's not true. Feeling humiliated, ashamed, guilty, or going through really stressful situations can also leave a deep mark and lead to the development of trauma. And you don't need a massive event to be wounded, because sometimes the smaller or repeated experiences can help just as much. Trauma doesn't just come from bad things happening, it can also come from good things that should have happened but didn't. We can be hurt by being physically harmed, and as well, we can be hurt by not getting the love, the care, or the support we need. As human beings, we all have emotional needs, but sometimes society, families, or circumstances fail to meet them. And that's why trauma isn't always about a single terrible event. It can also be about what was missing, like the love for safety that we never got. Trauma affects everyone differently, and some experiences are called big T trauma, and those are things that almost anyone would find overwhelming, like a natural disaster, physical abuse, or an assault. Then there are small t traumas, that are like a breakup or being bullied or losing a pet, that this might not seem as extreme, but they can still leave a big emotional impact. And depending on the person, it will determine its severity. No matter the type, both big T and small t trauma can be tough to deal with and affect our mental and emotional well being. Traumatic experiences leave a deep footprint in our body and mind, and our nervous system learns to react in that way automatically, just as it happened in a traumatic event. Even if what's happening now isn't directly related to the past, but the body remembers. And even something small in the present can trigger this reaction coming from an old wound, making us feel and act the same way that we did back then, without even realizing where this reaction is coming from. And that's the tricky part, that the situation today actually might not be bad at all, but that's how our body learned to react and try to protect us. Trauma isn't about the event itself, it's about the wound inside of us. This is great news because it means healing is possible. We can't change what happened in the past, whether it was an abuse, neglect, or loss. But because trauma is psychological and emotional, we can work on it, process it, address it, and clear the way to learn and experience new ways of reacting and feeling. Understanding this gives us the power to take control of our own healing journey and move forward. And let me please know in the comments if you have a situation or an event that you think is triggering you a reaction coming from a past event or a past trauma. Because gaining awareness of what we want to overcome is the first step towards healing and releasing all that we are carrying. Healing from trauma is different for everyone because it is a deeply personal experience, and there's no single way to do it, because what helps one person might not help others. It's a very individual process and depends on each one context and what we need, and that will determine the next steps. It's a personal journey. While there are many things we can do on our own to support our recovery, this should be seen as an extra tool, not as a replacement for professional support. Therapists and mental health experts can guide you through the healing process in a safe and supportive way, and make sure that your changes, you're exploring your own process, all those changes are permanent. And I cannot stress enough that this video and other content should be seen as a complement and not intended to replace professional guidance. A trained expert can help you to process the trauma at your own pace, because going too deep or too rushed into the trauma can have the opposite effect. Then we get triggered, and all the work that we've been trying to do, we just go back to square one. And that was part of my own personal journey, trying to process my own feelings and my own story, and making sure that I wouldn't default back to those stages. And that's why I want to help others as well to break free from it. And I created a program with personalized one-to-one guidance and strategies to achieve being present and break the cycle. The I Got Through community for processing trauma and rewiring ourselves to break the cycle and step into the life that we deserve. You can find more information in the link down in the description. And you can keep receiving videos like this one to keep yourself growing, keep learning, by liking this video, subscribing to the channel, and thank you so much for watching. See you soon.